All right. So I'll get started in a couple minutes, give some people a chance to join if they'd like. If not, you can watch this video after the fact and still ask me questions about it or give suggestions. So I'm going to give this about, I don't know, a couple minutes here. And if someone can actually tell me in chat whether or not my voice is clear, if the microphone levels are right, or if I need to adjust anything, that would be sweet. Is that a little better by chance? I turned my microphone up higher. Is it too loud? All right, let me. Sorry, coughed. See if that's any better. I've turned up my microphone itself. Cool. All right, so I'm going to get started in 4 minutes. If you guys have questions and whatnot, I'm just going to show off how I use the tool, what its purpose was, why I wrote it, how the code looks. I'm going to show the actual, some of the source code. And, yeah, we'll see where we go from there. Yeah, I don't know what to say on the phone volume thing. Let me check something. If I can get it any louder. Normally the level I'm at right now would be too much for most. Let's see. Sound. Recording. Test, 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 test. One, two, three, 1, 2, test, test, test. Testing 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9. Hello, Moray. How about that? I'm going to. I don't want auto gain control on. Let's turn that off. Or set it 100. I'm going to listen for a second. Test. Alright, I can hear myself. Okay, 2 more minutes and I will get started. How's it going, everybody? Just giving it a couple more minutes. Sorry I didn't schedule this ahead of time. My life has been absolute chaos. If anyone who is actual friends with me on Facebook, you've seen that we were on the edge of the fire evacuation. Had some other car-related drama I've had to deal with. And, yeah. Fun times. Alright, 2 more minutes and I will kick it off. Yep, no problem. I'm actually hoping to add lap 3 support very soon. I've had a few more lap 3 people reaching out to me recently. And there's a chance I might even be playing with a lap 3 box myself. We'll see. I've been in talks with lots of places to demo lots of new products just for fun. Gotta do some stuff that makes me happy. Yep, the fires are like originally we were at the edge of the evacuation zone. Now we're like it's all backed off. Let's go ahead. Let's see. Actually, I'll show you guys. Tiny URL SCU vac. So the green areas are the areas that have been reduced from a warning zone back down. And I live right here. So if anyone who's watching has been curious how close I was, I live right there, and that's less than a mile from the edge. I mean, we had ash falling on the car. Okay, so I think my countdown should be just about done. That's close enough for me. All right, everybody. Thanks for coming to my little live demo session. Oh, sweet. Sweet, 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 sweet. Let me tell this person this. Join my live view. Going to look at the log you sent as well. Okay. So let's start out with what is the point of this talk? Why am I doing this? If you're here, you probably know a little bit about my little bot thing I've written. I'm calling it a bot because originally the tool was called Virtual Will, and I was making it just to make my life easier. I get an absorbent amount of logs. I mean, insane amount of logs. Originally, people thought I was bragging because I had X number of logs. It was really just a cry out for the fact that I'm that busy with this stuff. And before I was actually uploading all the Pornhub tab is up. No, it's not. I don't use Pornhub. I use Nude Vista. Come on. So originally people asked me like, why did I make this tool? What was the point? And originally the tool was made just for me. I didn't even plan on originally releasing it to everybody. Because I was afraid it would confuse people, and I was just trying to make it so when I had to look at a log, instead of having to download the log, manually upload it to DataZap, put all my data in, I wanted to make it go faster. Just as a reference here, I'm going to show 60 logs, apply, let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, it's very, very, very extensive. And we're only back to 824 right here, just to be clear. That's 15 times 60. So that's like over 600 logs since the 24th. So I get a lot of logs from people, and I look at a lot of logs for people. And basically, I was like, this takes me too long because of the process of uploading used to be download it from my mail, upload it to here, name everything, and it was just kicking my butt. So I got the idea to write a script. And I originally called it Virtual Will. Now it's just called Log Check. I started renaming things because I do plan to open source this script. I plan to give it away for everyone to use. Like, the using of it right now where people are sending logs, this is to help me calibrate it and make it work, but I plan on completely releasing this to the public. If people want to expand upon it, great. I would even like to make it extensible so other people could write checks for it. It wouldn't be that difficult to make it support other map types, like not just logs from JB4, but logs from LAP3, logs from the new 6th data logger tool, logs from even Torque Pro, the Android application and iOS application. So I want to make this work for everybody, but I went with what I have initially and what I do the most of, which was JB4. So let's talk about the tool itself. What is it? So let's post up some PyCharm here. And all right, so the tool consists of 3 components. The first one is called Do the Email, which is literally a simple IMAP client that goes into map6tuning@gmail.com, downloads all of the mail that has attachments with CSVs on it, and then it hands it off to logcheck2.py. I did turn off auto gain. I turned it off already. I'll double check it. Hold on. There's recording. There's my device. Lesson. No auto gain control on, and I have the level maxed out. Not sure. It could be the noise in the background. I'm sorry. I wish I could make it louder. This is the mic I use for gaming, and nobody ever complains. So sorry, I can't do much better than that. All right, so let's go back to what this is. So there's three parts. There's the do the email, there's log check 2, and then there's data log uploader. Data log uploader was actually written by Robert Lucini, which is also a Kia Stinger owner. Really cool guy. I had been trying to write this, and it was a friggin' nightmare. And I want to talk about the interesting part of what he did to make this work initially. So what he did was wrote a tool that literally just drives Chromium. So I was trying to do it with all kinds of like calls to the like direct calls and posts and curl. I tried all kinds of crap to get it working. But because of the way the JavaScript was written and the process you had to do, you needed to actually like click buttons and do things on the website. So Robert wrote me this really cool tool called Data Zap Log Uploader, and it does two things. One, it uploads files, and two, because VIN numbers are technically PII, and I wanted to protect people, we put a piece of code in here that actually pulls the VIN numbers out. So if you send me a log before it gets uploaded to DataZap, your VIN number has been removed. Again, Robert wrote this. Super cool guy. I had 3 different people try to write this, including myself, and we just couldn't get it working. And he hit me up and was like, "Here you go." I was like, "This is friggin' great." So Robert is awesome. Everyone in this community should give him a big thank you. This tool would have never got finished without him, at least the last step. And the last step was the most important part. So let's talk about the log checker. The log checker is written very straightforward. I'm actually going to walk through the code because, like I said, I plan to open source this. It's not ready yet. It's got more work to go. But it's written with a bunch of functions that you basically passed variables off to, and it does work. So initially what it does is so here's the class for log checker. It inits itself and it brings in the log file path and then the sender, and that's the email address of the oops, Control Z, better unfix that. The log file sender, and the sender is the email address. And then what I do is I've got this piece called parse log. Initially, you notice in my emails it always has a little report, so I have to initialize the variables with that initial like the headings and stuff that you guys see in the code. Then it checks in a folder for the file and gets mad if it's not there. Then it basically loops through the file. And I had to do some really weird stuff with the rows on this so I could pull out certain components. For example, I wanted to pull out the firmware because running an old firmware on the JB4 was it just doesn't work well. I wanted to pull out the boost limit currently configured, which is also one of the initial rows. So I had to do that before you loop through the actual data set, because if you've ever looked at a JB4 log, the first 5 lines are not the log itself. So did that, grabbed the components out, then you see here I'm calling the firmware checker, and we'll go over all the functions in a minute, but I'm actually going to show the functions and the logic in the functions and explain my thought process on it. VIN out. So originally when I wrote this, I wrote it with a VIN number checker, and I was using VIN numbers to tell if somebody was a client or not a client. And what I mean by that is anybody who's been a paying supporter or tipped money, I have a little note in there that says thank you for doing it, and it shows up in my mailbox so I can tell, because I always look at the ones that are, contributors first, but I do my best to look at everybody. And if you ask anybody who's not ever contributed, I still help them. But I do prioritize those, because if it wasn't for those people, I wouldn't have actually took the time to write this or been motivated to keep going. Because there's been a few times when I was working on this tool that I really was ready to give up because I could not get DataZap to work. And the community. I've really enjoyed this community. I know people have seen me talking about wanting to sell my Stinger the other night. I'm just having some stress around the car, and I don't think I'll sell it. I don't know. Who knows? But for now, we're going to keep rocking on this. So after we've checked those components, then I have a piece here called check email. What check email does is, I'll walk through the functions after. I'm going to finish breaking the code down and I'll show all the functions. So the next thing I do here is I take and I map G80 time. Nah, dude. If I get something else, it has to be something I can tune myself. I want to be able to tune my own damn car. That's the truth of the matter. My frustration has to do with not being able to tune my own car, and as a tuner, it's really hard not being able to tune your own car. So I wouldn't get a G80. And if anybody's seen that pop up, they can see I'm talking to John because him and I are at a disagreement right now. And it has nothing to do with the quality of his work. His work is badass. So it just has to do with personal matters. So here is the part where I basically map out all the rows of the CSV. Super time. Yep, the super I could tune. You can see I basically map each value to a name so I know what it is. That fuel length, mode, FF. So basically, this is every part of a log mapped into a variable for me. And this allows me to loop through the data. Down here is the functions that get called. Each one of these outs calls into one of the functions that does a check. And down here, like all these print statements are all because I used to have a monitor sitting on the device that does all the work, and then I would go look at it. So let's go look at the functions. I can down here's the rest of it. So this is where how it calls and sends an email, which is essentially making a call just to send email using SMTPlib. So the one that I know people are most curious about is check timing, because that's the one that reports timing deviations. In my experience, when the JB4 shows a certain amount of timing deviation, you lose power. And I've tested this on the dyno and with the Draggy. Lots of people have given me grief for calling it knock, so I'm just going to call it corrections at this point. Whatever that correction value is, if I make that correction value go down, the car gets faster. That's been my experience. A little bit of correction is okay, but at a certain point, things get cranky. So what I do here is I take all the values of, well, first off, I'm going to walk through the code. So output this is just how I capture all the data. Then I take the ignition deviation, which is an add, takes all of 2 through 6 and adds them together. Then it checks to make sure the throttle and the pedal are pushed. 95 is the throttle I've used, and 96 for the pedal. Just so I know the throttle that we're already full throttle, because at partial throttle you get really weird numbers. And because you can floor the pedal and the throttle takes a second to open, again, I had to put that check in there to make sure that it doesn't catch it in the wrong spots, like during launch control and other spots where it would pick up weird stuff. Next is a very, very simple check. And what I do, and this is anybody who hears me tell people to please use future use A. Future use A1 makes it so timing in the log shows as a correction from 0 versus the target. And my tool just does a way better job of detecting it when it's a correction from 0. I try to catch it when it's not with some checks here, and I'll show you how I do it. So if the throttle's open correctly, then it comes down here and it says if ignition deviation is greater than 3, and it's less than my ignition 1 minus 4 times 6. And that sounds like a weird number, but it's not if you consider how timing used to be calculated. It used to be, let's say it was trying to, like if you showed ignition 1 at 12, then ignition 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 would also be almost 12. And that would be perfect. So what I did was I was like, okay, well, I'll add up all the values, and then I'll multiply ignition 1 by 6. Shit, it should be by 5, shouldn't it? Okay, whatever. So I multiply it out, and then I take the addition of the other ones, and I minus 4. And that was just to say that I would allow up to 4 degrees of correction or adjustment going on. And then if that's good, then it prints it out. That's why I'm always saying, please use future use A, because in future use A, all it needs to do is check the ignition deviation of the ones that are normally supposed to be 0. The value here in this set of code is 3, but I've actually changed that to a different value now after lots of tweaking, because I've noticed that there's a lot of cars that like to show 0.8 when they're perfectly fine. They'll show it on map 0 at race gas. And so I've just considered that an anomaly and corrected for it in the code by making the control better. The next is trims. So there's a few things in the trims that I want to watch for. And the things I'm looking for are basically, are the trims off from each other? So trim 2 and trim 1 should be very close to each other. If they're not, typically that's a sign that maybe the fuel wire's loose, the car's misfiring on a hole. There could be all kinds of reasons. Sometimes it does deviate during a shift, but essentially, I just check, and if the separation's more than 10 and the throttle's above 95, then report. The next one is if the trims are over 50. And the reason I choose 50 is because 50 seems to be the number where a lot of throttle close happens on the shift. So I check and see if it's above 50, and then I report high trims. A lot of the guys running E85 will report higher than 50, actually. And that's been okay in most cases. Some of those guys just paddle shift anyway, so it doesn't matter. And then the next one is I check for low trims. And I've actually lowered this number now because if you've been working with me recently, you know that I've been testing out a new methanol jet with a lot of folks and had really good luck with it so far. And that methanol jet we're using now has been the BMS 12. So if any of you guys ultimately want to get the BMS 12 and you've got a 3.3 in methanol, do it. But please use my link. It works. It adds a little bit more. It doesn't bottom the fuel trims all the way out. The trims come down to like 5 or 6. It's been working really well. The reason I report it is because we have noticed in some cases that the fuel trims go like below 5. Sometimes they'll freeze and you won't see corrections. It doesn't happen very often. It's just something I like to note. And again, these reports were written for me because I actually look at the report before I look at the log, so I know what I'm looking for. It just makes it so much faster than me having to go through all the pieces. Check high pressure fuel pump. Essentially here, it says 10 for my number, but I've actually changed that number. If the FP_H drops below, I think 8 is what I've got it set to in the real script. And the reason I say the real script, and I'm going to demo that in a minute, is because I moved this over to a Raspberry Pi. And it runs on a Pi now instead of my laptop, and works with Chromium instead of Chrome, and I've edited the code on the Pi a few times. As I've been getting so many logs and coming up with like edge cases, been tweaking, learning from what I do. So that's just a fuel pressure check. Just want to notify it. Check throttle close. This one just checks to see if throttle's closing. So if the pedal is above 95, the RPM's above 4,000, and the reason I chose 4,000 is this throttle close related to what I care about is typically at when it shifts, like right before shift. And below 4,000, you might catch somebody doing launch control and it would flag on that. So I just chose a number that works based on the RPMs typically I see. If it sees it, it reports it. And that's how everything works in here. It's just basically a simple check. And I'm going to be adding some new technology to this soon. I've got ideas, and I'm going to talk about that at the very end. Dual nozzle 850 might be much. Oh, total 850, yeah. Total 850, I can't wait to test. So check meth flow. This is actually one of the most common things I do for people. And this was like, this one check has probably saved me hours and hours of time. Because a lot of people that used to message me and wait for me to explain if they had a meth flow issue, just look at the report, see a meth flow issue, and go fix it. So this check literally is my lifesaver. All I do here is I check to make sure the pedals are pushed. I check to make sure the trigger count is greater than 1. That's future code. I haven't finished writing that piece because what I want to do is I want to make it so you have to trigger a meth flow issue 3 times before you report it. And that's just to catch some of the edge cases on the like spin up and spin down. And then boost has to be above 10 psi. And that's because the default setting most people use for kicking on meth is above 10. I know everyone who works with me directly in races, we use like 1 when at the track, but for daily driving, most people use 6 to 10. Next is check boost deviation. This one is actually really interesting to me. What I've noticed is some of the cars historically we thought were closing throttle for like other reasons were actually closing it due to boost deviations. And the boost deviation, I'm basically just checking if boost 1 and boost 2 are more than 1.9 psi apart. If boost 1 and boost 2 separate by too much, what will happen is throttle will close to try and get the boost 1 back up to where it's supposed to be. So if it's trying to hit like 14 and can't hit 14, it'll close throttle to get there. But when that happens, boost 2 is always lower. And this tells you that you've got either like an EWG issue going on, or maybe you're targeting too much boost and you can't even hit it. There's a few reasons it can happen. It's just a common thing that I want to know if it happens. Check VIN is no longer used at all. Check email. This is basically how I check if someone's a paying supporter. Very straightforward. I use some regular expressions here to extract their email. Then I have, I mean, this is super straightforward. It's just a friggin', I think it's called not a library, a record? No, a list maybe, or a set. I think it's a set. Timestamp. Yeah, the boost deviation sometimes on pedal lift catches. That's why I want to add a counter to a lot of these. I want to make these smarter by making it so they don't trigger without more than one instance. So I definitely going to address this. This is something that's on my list of things to do. I want to make this better so everyone can use it more and enjoy it. So check email is basically it comes up and says thank you for being a supporter. If not, it tells you like, hey, I provide my services free. Just understand. I always go to people who have paid first, but I try to help everybody. And so far, I have yet to turn anybody down because I've been too busy. I may have been slow to respond. The next code is check boost limit. Essentially, here, this is I don't want people running their cars too crazy. So I have some code basically to check and make sure they're not set to like 28 psi or something crazy. For 4-cylinder cars and 6-cylinder cars, I have it different. And that's because the 4-cylinder 2.0 Stingers, I've been dialing them into like 23 plus psi on a few of them. They're running all the bolt-ons and E30 or race gas and all the fun stuff, and the cars are happy at that. So I do it a little bit higher than on the other ones. I have it set 25.1. Again, this is just a safety trigger. Next is check IAT. This just checks for heat soak. I'm going to change the code for the heat soak checking soon, but it's just a very simple check. Checks for heat soak. The next one is a firmware check. Essentially, I check the firmware version. If you're not 17, it tells you might want to upgrade. Again, these are all just things that make my life easier, and it's meant to help you guys too. So let's look at how she runs. Where are you, Ubuntu? All right. So if you're not a Linux person, that's cool. This is a Linux computer, essentially. It is a, let me show what I run it on. So it is a single board computer. This is what she looks like. Well, that isn't what she looks like. I actually run a lot of things on my network that prevent ads from popping up and malware and stuff. So that's why you've seen that page not load, because it's an ad referral page. So this is a Raspberry Pi 3. It is a single board computer. It has, I think, a gig of memory. We'll check that in a second. It runs with an SD card. It has a 4-core processor on it. And it runs Linux. It has an ARM chip similar to your cell phone does. All the cell phones out there run on ARM-based chips now. And it runs Raspbian, which is like Debian. And this is the box. You can see the 4 little threads here going. I'm going to go here real quick. This is the control loop for the bot. I'm going to stop the bot right now. And the reason I'm going to stop it is if one of you guys could send me a log right now, I want to spin it up just so you can see how it works on the local side. If you don't, if no one can, I can send myself a log, but if one of you sends me a log right now, I will pull it up live and talk about it live. I'm going to give you guys like 30 seconds, 45 seconds while I grab a glass of water, but if someone mails me a log right now, that would be awesome. All right. I don't know if anybody sent me one, but I'm sweet. Thank you, Jason. Just seen that come through. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually start up another Ubuntu session here. I'm going to connect into the Pi. See a few of them coming in. Sweet. So the screen you see up right now, this is called HTOP. It's basically like Task Manager in Windows. So it's monitoring the 3 processors, the amount of memory. You can see it has 1 gig of memory, it has 2 gigabytes of swap. And I had to do that because of the amount of load it takes to actually make it do this. Originally, I had hoped this tool would be super lightweight, and I was going to run it on one of the $10 single board sticks, but it ended up needing to use a full load of Chrome. And as you'll see, so I'm gonna go ahead and kick it off now. Okay, so it's kicked off, and you can see on the left screen here, it's processing. So right now it just processed a log. One of you just got an email. I can see stuff on the screen. And the reason I have it printing stuff on the screen is because I used to have a screen actually sitting on the Pi, but now the Pi is mounted in a spot with a power and everything. No problem, Jason. I love doing this. If any of you guys don't understand this, I tune cars because I love it. Tuning doesn't pay enough money to me to go back and do it full time ever because I do InfoSec. But I love tuning. I enjoy making people's cars faster and seeing them be happy with their fast cars. That's why I do JB4, Lap 3. I don't care what you have. I would help anyone. As long as it's not a Math Translator Pro on a 3000 GT, I will never touch those again. Every once in a while, I've even tuned a DSM, an LS3, and a few other things. So as you can see over here, it's maxing. It's actually hitting these processors. Ooh, low fuel trim. Somebody's running a good jet. You can see over here, it's running Chrome. It's doing all kinds of stuff. So this is the script just doing its job. And what will happen here is in a second, I'll open up my Gmail. I'm going to let this process all the way through. Yep. There's some throttle close detected, I see here. A little bit of that. So in the time that this thing's been running in the background, if I would have had to upload every one of those logs, and I've timed myself, it takes me about 2 minutes to upload a log through the process. And that's like being sloppy with naming and everything. Now this is all going to be done for me. And that's why this tool was like a lifesaver to me. It is meant to make your guys' jobs life easier too. So you can look at it and be like, hey, I see a lot of timing deviations. Maybe I shouldn't be running map 5. And you guys know who you are that I'm picking on right now. Cool. It is away. It's done. You can see down here it says sleeping for 3 minutes. The Raspberry Pi has now chilled out. And the Pi itself, I'll show you. So the Pi has 2 jobs. It runs my Pi-hole, which is a malware and adware and ad blocking system for my network. And it runs Map6Bot. Or Virtual Will, whatever you want to call it. Alright, so it's all done doing its job. I'm going to show you guys a couple things about the bot, about the actual Pi, and let's see some numbers. So this is where all the code runs from. I also keep all the logs locally, just because I haven't written any cleanup code yet, but I'm curious, since this bad boy came online, how many logs has she processed? So let's find out. Wow. Okay, so the Raspberry Pi by itself, which has only been up for less than 2 weeks. Let me see, what's the oldest date on here? The 16th, maybe? I haven't seen anything older than the 16th so far. Okay, so this hasn't even been up a month. And there have been over 322 log files that have went through this bad boy. I love that. People are loving it. People are using it. It makes my life easier. So let's go see what it looks like as a result and how I use the results. Let's go. I'm going to go to my... Oh, wait. Nope. I've already got it open. All right. So here's my Gmail. I'm going to go ahead and hit inbox. You can see all my things. I'm going to type map 6 just so I only see map 6 stuff. There we go. So I can see all these logs just processed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Looks like 7 or 8. It just processed all those in 2 minutes. And I'm going to pick one to go into. Let's go ahead and check out Jason's. As you can notice, it's still warning people about the evacuation. I will be removing that soon. I am going to be adding a note for future use A, because again, the tool does much better with future use A. So let's take a look here. Alright, so I know that this car has a couple high fuel trims, not a big deal, and one deviation, probably nothing. So my part that I love about this is right here, I have a link. I know that my report and my mail have a link, and I can click it, boom, and it loads the log. I'm working on some other features for this, like one where it will actually mark in the log where the problem happened. So when you open the log, you would actually have the problems marked in yellow. That's something I'm working on. I haven't had time to do it yet. I've been super busy with work uh, and fire and everything else. So here's how I would do it when I come in here. When I come in, I've got profiles. I've got profiles for checking various things. I got a profile for Motec. I got for the 2.0 guys. Fuel pressure check log. A check timing is the one I normally use. And it's set up like this. So it gives me this, gives me a base load. Then a lot of times if I want to know what map they're on, so I'll hit map. It says map 6, imagine that. So let's see if they're a meth user. Nope, no methanol. And then I just go through and I look at the log. And there's the correction. Hold on, let's see, is that the correction it complained about? There's the correction it complained about. So one thing, it actually did the correction on lift. And this is something that I want to actually... Yeah, I can't wait to make the marking work in Kato. It will happen. We figured out how to do it. Like, we know how to mark it. We just haven't had time to write the code to do it. So on this one, it happened on lift. And that's something I want to learn how to like detect and not flag. You can see some minor timing corrections. You can notice there's a 2.29 correction, but it didn't exceed the maximum amount of value I allow for correction in my tool. Because after testing on the dyno and realizing that a little bit of correction you can still make more power with, but once you get past a certain point you lose power. So I went ahead and just wrote the code that way. This one I wouldn't be worried about at all. Overall, the log looks pretty solid. One of the things I like to look at is to look and see what peak timing is. Based on this, I'm going to guess this is a rear-wheel drive guy. I think. Oh, I'll look at yours next, Brian. I'll pull yours up next. I see array log just came in. And then I can come down here and scroll through it. But that's essentially what I do. I come in here and look at the log. And talk to the person about it. The marking thing will be here, hopefully. That's the next thing I want to try to write, is the marking code. Marking code and the code to handle... Let's go to Brian Thomas. Let's go down to his latest one. Let's take a look at his report. I want to write the code for timing checks, so it does it differently. I want to write code to do, if it detects that you're on like map 4 or higher and you have timing corrections above a certain point, it would be like, hey, you should probably turn your map down. Because I'm tired of telling people you can't run map 5 or map 4. Just save me some time. So yeah, we got some corrections going on in this one. So let's take a look at the log and see what we got, Brian. So my first question is, Brian, do you have a blow-off valve? The fuck? Yeah, you're right. Your shit looks weird, Brian. Something's off. This is a logging anomaly at this point. What firmware are you on? Something's off here. You need to either change firmwares, I don't know, but there's no way that's what your timing's reporting. It's reporting something wrong. The times I've seen this in the past have all been... Yeah, there's no way. You like literally couldn't pull 126 degrees of timing. Yeah, first off, I think your tile blow-off valve is adjusted wrong. I could be wrong. I'm spitballing here at the moment, but I'm going to show you why I think that. the timing thing is crazy. Yeah, something's off in your log, first off. Like, for sure. Something is off. You either need to change your firmware, or you need to send your box out to Terry. You're on 20. Go back to 19. Yeah, Jason, that is badass. Your E30 straight out the pump. I was skeptical at first, but I'm a true believer now. So Brian, go down to version 19 and try running a log again. This isn't right. Like either you got a bad 2580 chip, a bad box, or you're on a bad firmware. Something's off. Definitely not right. But that doesn't change this. This right here tells me that most likely, because I'm seeing it right after you lift off the throttle, your tile blow-off valve, is it adjustable? If so, I would loosen it a little bit. Because this is going to get worse. As you run more boost, this will spike even higher. And I have seen a couple cases where it spiked to numbers that may have damaged people's turbos in the past. And this doesn't have anything to do with it being a juice box or a lap 3, because I've seen it on both, and I've seen it in a Torque Pro log. And I'm going to show you also here that it's happening. See this? See where it says ECU PSI spiked too? It's literally spiking in the main ECU. So this can happen anywhere. Absolutely. Check your blow-off valve. Make sure it's loose if it's adjustable, or it might need oiled. Like some of them can get sticky after a while. I would just check it. Because you were off the throttle and this spiked. And I can show some other logs where this has happened. And I've even seen this happen on a log that was shown to me where the turbo blew up. Basically, the turbo went kaboom, and on the log, JB is juice box, yes. So yeah, you can actually see this happening, and the stock ECU's seen it too. So that's telling you that the JB4 didn't command that. It just boom. So I would definitely check if it needs greased. Check if it needs adjusted. That doesn't look good to me, and I wouldn't want that to happen. So let's look at another log, since we're here. So I'm going to show you guys how I would normally pick this. So see where it says I will not reach out, I will not reach out, I will not reach out. Then down here, classified stinger, Mr. Jonathan says thank you for being a paying supporter. So this will be the next one I choose. Why do people care about exhaust tips? I don't think E30 is going to be enough to make them cleaner. If you want pure E85, it would be. And your car would smell like rum. I love that smell. Alright, so got some throttle close. Let's see what's going on in the log for classified stinger. And I always forget who classified stinger is. Let me see. I think it says at the top. No, it doesn't. Alright, let's see what he had some throttle close for. Right there. Boom. There's some throttle close. Probably related to trims. Let's zoom in and find out. Or it could have been he hit the rev limiter. It looks like he actually hit the rev limiter. Yeah, I think he's paddle shifting, potentially. Whoever this person was. Michael Reed, okay. Yeah, were you paddle shifting? Because it looks like you were paddle shifting and you shifted too late. That would be it. Because when the trims are not high, that's typically what caused it. So trim's 42. That shouldn't be high enough to piss it off for shift. But yeah. All right, let's look at the next one. Thank you, Reed, for being a supporter. Do 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 do. Oh. Sorry, I had to do something because if I don't, I'm going to forget to do it. There you go. It's updated for him. All right, let's take a look at Scott's log. Current limit 26. Got that low trim. Yeah. Called that BMS 12 right there. Scott, now you're updated. You should get the happy message now. Short shifting the shit out of it here, aren't you? I'm not sure what you were doing here, Scott, but it's definitely interesting. Let's see. Where's the pedal? Let's see the pedal. Scott. So I want to talk about this because Scott sent me an example of a bad log. So when people send me logs and they're not flooring it, the logs are not very useful. Just to be clear. By the way, there are some folks I'm still like adding emails to the code as I catch them because I have a file that lists all the people that have like donated money and tips and stuff, and yeah. All right, so you actually floored it for a second here, but this is an example of a log that would frustrate me because I'd be like, "What is going on? Why are we not flooring the gas all the way?" I would pick on you and say it's the windjammer, but I'm trying to be nice. Kiki, I'm kidding. I know you probably had it off when you were testing this. So let's look at another one real quick here. Has any more came in? I think some more logs just came in. Yeah, here's the second batch. I know Ray's a supporter. I need to add your email, Ray. I'll fix that. I know you are. I just haven't had a chance to add everybody yet. Trust me, I know your name. Because you were the one that got me interested in doing bigger methanol jets. Let's take a look at Ray's log. Okay, what was Ray doing? Oh, did you have a methanol delay on this one? You did. What was your meth trigger set at? Boost 17, I know it was set at that. Have we updated you to 19T4 yet, Ray? If not, you really should. Because I see the methanol lag that we were talking about on T2. And I believe that is fixed on the latest one. So I'm pretty sure you actually are still getting that methanol lag we ran into when we were on the dyno with the T2 alpha. So I would say definitely upgrade to the latest 19, and we'll see. I don't know why your car has done that. And what happens is if so anyone understand, not sure what I'm talking about here is, basically we were using. Oh no, it was your foot this time. You weren't floored. Okay, you're below 60% throttle. That's why. There's your trigger. I see it right here at 60. Okay, yeah, okay. That's the old log. Okay, that makes perfect sense. Now I know what's going on. We already handled this problem. Cool. I'm gonna go to a different one then. Let's go to Mark Russell's. Got the end of your log. So Mark, one thing I'll suggest is you should probably get to. Why is your? Yeah, you weren't even flooring the pedal, Mark. One of the things that this car does, and I don't like the way it does it, is like you can be at partial throttle and it'll open the. Like you can be at partial pedal and it'll open the throttle all the way, but it just doesn't do it well. Sorry, not sure what the log was. No problem. I was just looking through them. I'm gonna get another one here real quick because this one is like not a complete log. It's all good. Let's see what happened here. This looks like a 4-cylinder. It is. Woohoo! So yeah, I don't just do stingers. I've been poking around at Velosters and I've been poking around even with the 1.6Ts a little bit. No, this ain't a meth car. So I'm looking at this guy. Yeah, we're getting some timing separations on here. Oh, I gotta switch to AFR1. I really need to make a 4-cylinder thing. And let's see what map this car's on. Map 2. So what I would do on this car, just based on what I'm looking at, is basically I would target a richer AFR. I would try targeting 11.4. I would change the fuel map to 11.4 just to see if we can make this timing separation go away. Just general comments here. It always cracks me up when I look at a 4-cylinder car because sometimes I've like not caught myself and I'll look at it and be like, how the hell is this running 20 plus degrees of timing? And then I remember, oh wait, it's a 4-cylinder. All right, let's pick one more. I'm gonna pick one more, and then if any of you guys have questions right now you want to ask, put them in the chat, and I will answer the questions after I look at one more log here. Let's pick Mickey. Mickey was one of the first people I actually started helping. A little bit of timing in first, and then it all goes away. Interesting. I bet that's because the methanol hadn't kicked in yet. It'll say it's on. Let's look at the trims and find out. Yep, that is why. So, what you're seeing here... Oh, no, did I click the wrong thing? I did. Meth. So, one of the things that we've realized with the JB4 methanol kits, and all methanol kits have this, for example, is it takes a second from the point at which you tell the meth to start spraying and when it starts spraying. So one of the things we do on the race setups is we set the trigger at 1 psi or lower to try and make it kick on faster. But what I'm seeing here is essentially where the bump is, stupid words, where the bump is that you see on that blue bump on right there, that is basically showing you where the methanol turned on. When you see the trims drop, you know the methanol is spraying. And this is just an issue with like the way the boost targeting and all that happens. Sometimes you can have too much boost down low and be too lean, then it might pull timing or correct or make some changes. But as you notice, as soon as it's all spraying, it's clean. This is a clean log all the way through with the 0.8 correction. Not a big deal. Some of the cars show it that way. What you do want to check is make sure that you're peaking out around 15 degrees of timing. And this car is. Yeah, this is a straightforward looking log. And I want to see if I can find the one that was map 5 the other day. I'm trying to remember who that was. That was really bad. It was like running no timing. Yeah, I can look at yours. Where's it at? Let me go in here and do it. There's Mark Russell. Let's look at Eric Davis's. So one comment I'll give you is turn your auto logging onto a lower percentage, so it triggers a little sooner. Let's take a look here. Map. What map are we on? We're on map 4. So, first things first, if this is E30, I mean, we're leaned out already a little bit. Based on what I see, you should drop down to map 3. That's my honest answer. This, unfortunately, shows a lot of correction in the higher gear. Let's take a look at your IAT and see what it was at. Yeah, there we go. Climbing. Yeah, I would consider. Let's see what speed you were at when that happened. definitely, I mean, like, you can see here, once you got above 120, man, it's pulling timing on all the cylinders really hard. I would swap down the map 3. Um, if you have EWG, what I would do is I mean, if you know how to dial it in or work with me to dial it in, however you want to do it, we could dial you in with EWG to make map 3 a little hotter. So, one of the things I do a lot of times with the EWG, especially for the 91 octane people, is since most of the 91 octane people cannot run map 2 in a happy state, I put them on map 1 or map 6, and then I use EWG to bring a little bit more in up top. WMI would help a lot on this. 136 mile per hour. You're not the highest speed yet. The highest logs I have are 160 plus. So yeah, there's a lot of corrections. This would be an example of a log that I plan to add code for later, that it would come down and say, at the end of the report, it would say, hey, I noticed you're running map blank. You might want to suggest lowering it down one map based on the amount of correction we see here. Let's look at one more. If anybody else has any questions or a log they want me to look at right now, just put it in the chat. I got nothing else going on right now, and this is a nice distraction. I've got too much other stress. Let's see what Mark's is. Boop. I see you launching. Is that what that was? I think it was. No. Did you spin? You like got into it and let out and got right back into it. Oh, this is you racing. I'll look at yours next, Tim. No problem. And Christopher, I'll look at yours too. Just put your emails in the chat, or as long as your names match, it'll be okay. It's when the names don't match that I get lost. So, Mark, turn on future use A1. It'll make my tool work better at detecting, and it makes it easier for me to look at the timing, because now I have to sit and actually stare at it really closely, and that's frustrating. You're definitely shifting too soon. You need to actually run the gear out a little further than this. But yeah, I mean, this isn't a horrible log. You just, I think that you screwed yourself in that race though. I would have shifted about 200 RPM higher on that gear. I'd have shifted about 300 on that one, about 500 on that one. But yeah, future use A. So who's the next one? I think Christopher and Timothy. Let's go look. Tim. What we got here? A boost deviation. We'll see what that is. By the way, if you're curious, TS means timestamp. 60% or 70%? I think if you wouldn't have short shifted so much, it would have went better. You could have. You definitely had more. Ooh. Timothy, what map are we on? Map 1. Alright. I hate 91 octane. So first off, Timothy, please turn on future use A1. I cannot stress this enough. It's just so much easier to look at the corrections. Okay, only one cylinder acting silly. Not enough that I would stress about. A little more up here. Let's take a look. Let's guess if you have a front mount or not. I'm guessing stock front mount. So, Timothy, turn on the future use. We could also attempt different fuel mapping on your car as well. That might help with the little bit of deviation, but it's not a ton of deviation. It's not like I would freak out over it. I've seen ones where I'm like, oh my god, this poor car. Alright, I think Chris was the other person. If there's any other ones people wanting to get looked at right now, go ahead and send it right now, and I will look at it after this one. Yeah, Kenny. Did you send one already? Right now? All right. Let's take a look. High fuel trim, not a big deal. Timing deviation, only one, not bad. Let's take a look. So I can tell that Mr. Martin here, by looking at the log, is not using auto logging. It's really a good idea to turn it on. Okay. Dude, timing looks almost perfect. Like, looks great. Definitely not anything I would be stressed about at all. Map 3. So, see, I'm looking at Chris Martin. I would say on this actual, based on this log, if you have EWG wires, we might be able to add a little bit more power that way. Maybe a map 6. I mean, the timing looks pretty good. Nothing I would, like, scream about or kick about. I don't think map 4 would work. It just doesn't seem to work for most people on E30. Either they end up crashing the fuel pump, or they just have too much timing deviation. I'll take a look here in 1 second, Kenny. All right. Let's see if we have a new Kenny. We do. God, I love my tool. Like, before I would have had to go and do all the stuff, and it's already sitting here ready to go. All right, we got some heat soak going on. A little bit of boost deviation, not a big deal. That's the thing I keep on talking about. And a little bit of deviation. Let's go see what's going on. Is this Kenny? This is not Kenny. Oh yeah, look at all those. Kenny made lots of pulls. A little bit of corrections here and there, not a big deal. This is running a custom map 6 essentially for 91 octane with EWGs. We're not running a ton of boost. We have upped the boost a little bit up top for those curious. This one's completely custom map 6 with EWG and a custom fuel curve that I'm playing with. So, Kenny, this don't look bad at all, man. Is this on E30 or what's this on right now? I'm not sure what fuel you're running right now. I can look at your trims and guess though. Let's see. I'm gonna guess you're on E30. I could be wrong. Might be just 91. Maybe. All right. Is there any more that want me to look at? If not, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up if there's no other questions. I hope you guys have enjoyed me jabbering, and I hope this helps people understand how the tool works better. That was the whole goal. Is I wanted people to understand how to use this tool. So there's a lot of people out there that are self-tweaking. Cool. I totally support that. And if you have questions when you're tweaking your own car, reach out and ask. Really looking forward to doing some more stuff for the community. Looking forward to adding Lap 3 support. Been in... Maybe, Kenny. We would have to dial it in and see what she does. Definitely looks like we might be able to. Let me finish up this thing and then I'll talk to you directly. Yeah, no, everybody, thanks for the support and giving me the drive to keep doing this. I hope to add more features. Yes, I would probably sell my Stinger if the right number came across. Now that I know the trade-in is like way more than I owe, I'm like sitting here wondering about Tesla Model 3 performances and things like that. But even if I left the community, I would still keep supporting this tool and helping people. I still got Subaru folks I helped from on occasion from like back in the day. So thank you everybody for coming to my talk. I hope you learned something from it. If not, I hope it at least entertained you. Take care, everybody, and have a great night.